Hi everyone, my name is Kelly. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Woman of Faith. The reason I started this channel is because I am a 56-year-old recovering alcoholic who didn't even become an alcoholic until I was 51 or 52. What I wanted to share with you guys is kind of my journey on how all this happened and a little background on me. And sorry if my glasses are having some glare. I'm not a professional YouTube creator, so I apologize because I'm not technologically inclined. So I will start with kind of my background, how I grew up. My mom and dad had me and my brother. Dad was a cop, volunteer fireman. He also worked on the ambulance. Mom was home with us till we got a little older, and then she also worked on the ambulance. We had a good childhood. I mean, we weren't abused. We had very loving parents. Were they perfect? No, but come on, who is? But they really loved us. Unfortunately, they're both gone now. We were raised Catholic. I did first penance. I got baptized in the Catholic Church, first penance, first communion. That's where I first had wine, but I'll be honest, it was not. They served real wine back then, and it was not real great. It was strong stuff. I experimented as a teenager. After mom and dad split up, I kind of went through a little wild streak, I guess you could say. I tried beer, but I never got drunk and never really enjoyed it. I graduated high school at 19. I was bullied as a kid. I was slow. I was a slow learner. But I found out in my later years when I went to college in my 40s that I learned by doing, not by vision or listening. I went in the Marine Corps. I know people look at me as if she was in the Marine Corps. Yes, I was. It was tough. I got through basic training. My MOS school got to be in Japan, so a new culture. And then I did something pretty stupid, and obviously got discharged. I didn't hurt anybody. It was general under honorable conditions. I think even back then, mental health issues that I didn't realize that nobody did because it wasn't talked about back then. Alcoholism does run in my family. I've watched family members battle it, an uncle that died from it. Other family members thankfully overcame it, and they're my inspiration. I won't name names because they don't even know I'm making a video because I haven't told anybody. I want to see how it goes first and if I can actually make one. I went through, I think I was about 21, I moved to Maine with my mom. That's where I started dating guys who were not, didn't beat the heck out of me, but were definitely mentally and emotionally abusive. And I was young, I was 20s, I didn't understand it. So that was kind of hard when I finally figured out, especially one of them was, that's where I found out about sexual abuse. And we're not really going to talk, I'm not going to dwell on that because that comes up again later in my 40s. And if my grandma, well, not that my grandma would watch this, but if any family watch it, they don't know, and it will really hurt them to find out what I went through. But I have gone through abuse. Again, not getting hit, just a lot of mental, emotional things like that. Never was a big drinker. I'd go in spurts. I'd drink, but not real heavy. I can't say I never got drunk because I did, and I regretted it afterwards, believe me. So I was I think because of the alcoholism in my family, I was very self-aware that I didn't want to put anyone through that. I met a guy in 2012, Joe, love of my life. the love of my life. We were together 2 years and he died. And backtrack from it, the other reason I started this channel is to encourage people with mental health issues to get the help they need. I have mental health issues. When Joe died, I'm not going to lie to anyone, I was ready to end it. That man was my life. And I stood on a beach one night, and I can say this now because my mom and dad aren't here, because it would have killed my father. I stood on a beach one night, it was probably October or November of 2014, with a bottle of wine, bottle of pills in my hand, ready to walk in the ocean. That's how lost I was without him. And unfortunately, I also dated guys who were the anti-Joe, that were not like him at all, did not respect me, did not truly love me. I picked some doozies. The final one that created a lot of my PTSD, he did a number on me. I'm not gonna lie, he didn't beat me, but he controlled everything I did, isolated me, moved me to Alabama. The good thing was I got to be near my friend Margie, but that's how I ended up with my two cats, Harley and Ziggy. Harley Quinn, sorry, and Ziggy. So that was a small blessing, but it took me telling a friend the things he did and her ordering me to contact an abuse counselor immediately for me to realize what was really going on. And I won't lie, I was very depressed. I was suicidal. If it weren't for my cats and the fact that it would have killed my dad, I probably would have, I was pretty close to taking my own life. And if I had stayed there when he got back from Maine, it would have been bad. One of us would have ended up not being here, and it probably would have been me. So I ran. I took the truck my mom had said I could take, my two cats and my dog Lady, and we ran. We ran back to New York. I lost a lot of stuff. Jewelry that my mom and my Aunt Patty, who's also deceased, had given me. All my Breyer horses mom had given me. Clothes, pictures. But I realize now those are things. Things can be replaced and I can't. Dated and stuff, but didn't really get in any serious relationships until I met my former boyfriend, Dave. And if he's watching this, he knows he's a great guy. But unfortunately, there were a lot of things stacked against us. COVID hit. It killed my father. We were trying to he was in a nursing home at the time. We were trying to get him out. And 3 days after his birthday, it got him. That was hard, even though Dad had a lot of health issues. And every time the phone rang, I jumped because I thought, oh geez, oh no, what if he's had another heart attack? But it saddened us because at the time we didn't have a house. We were trying to get one. We really wanted him out of there, but I'll be honest, everyone, God obviously had other plans. We finally did get a house in October of 2021. Dad died in January. Things went okay at first, but then we all got COVID, like in December, right before Christmas. I was the last one to get it. I wasn't that sick, but going into 2022, I started feeling fatigued, having trouble focusing, getting depressed, drinking more, and not being able to put down. And at the time, and there was a lot of stress in the home, a lot of fighting. We had 2 adult kids living with us, not mine, I have none. And it was just a lot. It was a lot to deal with. And I had become disabled because of the stuff going on with me. I couldn't work because I couldn't even function. And I used booze to drown it out. The only difference is I could not put down again. Where I used to be able to, I couldn't. And it was a mess. It was a mess, and I apologize. I'm not a smooth speaker. I have 4 neurological disorders, and my brain doesn't always work the way I want it to. So please forgive me. I'll try my best. 2023 is the first time I went to rehab. It was in July. I asked to go. I knew I had a problem. I knew it. And so I went to a place in Syracuse, Commonwealth Place. I was there a week. I was doing good. I mean, it was only a week, but still, I was doing good. And then, unfortunately, I had a medical emergency where apparently my intestine twisted into my colon, and part of my colon started going necrotic. That was interesting, to say the least. They did surgery. I was in the hospital probably almost 10 days at one point because I had so much acid in my stomach, and I kept getting sick. And I couldn't eat. They had to, not to gross anybody out, but they had to stick a tube up my nose and down into my stomach, and I can tell you, I cried. I told my boyfriend, Dave, that I didn't want them to do it. Told the doctor that, and they both said it's going to make you feel better. Once the tube was in, I was fine. I had a lot of healing to do because I really had to really open my stomach. So I didn't go back to rehab, which was a mistake. And then October of 2023, that's when I had basically a nervous breakdown. Alcohol did not help. We got in a fight with his son. I lost it, smashed my wine glass, just was like I was out of control. I'll admit, and I was drinking. I was probably drunk, who knows. After everybody went to bed, and by then, just to let you guys know, Lady, my dog, had passed, so she didn't have to deal with any of that. Grabbed my rest of my bottle of wine and apparently some muscle relaxers. Go figure. Walked up the street to a local business. They had a giant, one of those old wooden railroad ties, and sat there drinking and crying and trying to smash the wine bottle. Not to kill myself, I want to make that clear. I didn't want to kill myself. I wanted somebody to help me and get me the heck out of that house. I knew I needed help, but I tried to smash it so I could cut myself. I know, really stupid. And it wouldn't smash. So that's actually pretty funny. I'm sorry. I can look back at some of the stuff I've done and say, what was I thinking? And I called 911 on myself. And hysterically crying. The police, God bless them, they were marvelous. They were so helpful. And they took me to the psych ward in my hometown. And I flat out told them I didn't want to go home. I said I need help. That's not a good environment. I'm an alcoholic. I mean, and I don't have pictures yet. Next post I do, hopefully I have some pictures printed. I was very thin. I was at my high school weight, which now at my age is not a good thing. I was just a very sick, unhappy person. And I didn't tell my mother, even the first time I went into rehab, I made Dave, my former boyfriend, tell her, because I was ashamed. I think I did that the second time too, because I was ashamed. I didn't want her thinking less of me, and my mother, God rest her soul, ended up being, her and my Grammy ended up being some of my biggest supporters, which totally shocked me, but also filled me with gratitude. I went to Commonwealth Place again, and I stayed the whole program. I think that's where we started figuring out I had PTSD, because people would yell and I would flip out. I shake and cry and go try to hide in my room because I couldn't take it. And I couldn't figure out why. And I did the program, came back home, I got a sponsor, I attended AA meetings. The problem is I went back home to the exact environment that did not help me. And Dave, God bless him, he's a good person, a good man, but Dave, I love you, dude, but you are an enabler. And I would try to quit and then make him go get me a bottle of wine. Yeah, not a good thing. Or if I finished my wine, I'd dig into his whiskey or any other alcohol that was in the house. That's how bad I got. I was up to a bottle and a half of wine a night. I mean, it got bad. And I didn't have money to pay for it. Dave paid for it. Poor guy, I feel bad. There was a lot of money, and I didn't drink cheap wine. I didn't drink cheap wine. And the situation at home didn't change. It just got worse and worse. And finally, I decided I needed rehab again. I ended up going to Mount Laurel in Pennsylvania. And my counselor there really helped me, started me working on the PTSD, but also thankfully that's where I started really getting closer to God. I took a Bible study, and it was starting to wake me up a little bit. I had some meltdowns there, I'll be honest, and it was again people fighting or people yelling at me, and I would flip. Not hurt anyone, but I would cry. I would try to run away. Sorry, I'm trying to do this with my phone and my elbows hurting, so I'll put it here. I did not handle any of that well. Completed the program there. I was there 40 days. Went to Serenity Mountain in Pennsylvania. Women's recovery, beautiful place. That truly is God's mountain. I'm telling you right now, it's God's mountain. You could feel his presence there. And my therapist I had at the time, he really, really helped me dig into the trauma that I didn't want to face. And I'm not going to lie, I think maybe I haven't totally faced all of it. I keep thinking I did. I keep thinking I forgave. But apparently not, because I still have PTSD, especially toward a certain family member of mine who reminds me too much of my ex that moved into Alabama. That ex did teach me, though, I will say, some good things like living off the land, how to eat healthier. I mean, it wasn't total bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. Loved the mountain. That's where I learned how to diamond art, which is now a hobby of mine that I really like. And I just really enjoyed it there. Made some very deep connections with other girls. But some sad stuff happened too. One of our girls, I was still pretty new, and she graduated the program, was supposed to go to like either a halfway house or sober living. She didn't do that. She went, I'm not quite sure where she went, but she wasn't with her kids. She had 5 or 6 kids. She overdosed within a week and died. And it devastated our whole community. It was heart-wrenching, very heart-wrenching. But let me back up a minute, because I do have a funny story to tell about Serenity Mountain. My first night there, I fell off the stairs, like the bottom landing, and ended up in the ER. Didn't break anything, but I was pretty lame, let me tell you. And I already have a bad leg from an accident I had in 2010. That's when I turned 40. I crashed a four-wheeler. Wasn't drinking, believe it or not. I was only going 5 miles an hour. And it shattered my tibia. That was interesting. So unfortunately, what leg do you think I landed on? The left one. Oh boy. So I earned the nickname Grace Uh, I mean, it wasn't funny at the time, but it was pretty funny afterwards. But the mountain is where I took a Bible study class there, and it really started bringing me closer to God. And I stayed there as long as I could. Because I had told Dave there were certain conditions that needed to be met before I could come home, and they weren't being met. So I started really coming back to myself. I used to love to pop out and song and dance, not very well, but I hadn't been like that in a long time, and I earned the nickname Kelly Spice because I broke out in song and dance one day in the classroom before class started, and that's what the girls nicknamed me, and it kind of stuck. And some of the staff still remembers me as Kelly Spice. I will actually be going to the mountain July 3rd, God willing, to speak. I went from Serenity Mountain to, I'm sorry, I just forgot the name of the place I went. The Hope Home, Women's Recovery in Binghamton, New York. I liked it there. We weren't allowed to have our phones, and that ended up being a problem for a lot of people. They do have their phones now. It's a little different. And they have a great program. Anyone out there, and they have a men's home too, by the way. So anyone out there who needs help, I recommend, getting hold of them. Because their program, I mean, they're so faith-based, and that's why I liked them. But after 4 days, my health started going downhill. I think that's probably where the chronic fatigue syndrome kicked in. I had helped clean the church because we did, do stuff. We didn't just sit around. And after that, my pain and fatigue were so bad. And I made the mistake again of making them let me call Dave and going back home. And within a week, I relapsed. It didn't take long at all. And that was July of 2024. Within a week, the adult children, a couple of them, were out of the home. Dave and I ended our relationship in August of 2024. I think we just realized it wasn't working anymore. I mean, he's still my friend. I still have the utmost respect for him. His daughter and I are really close. We just had too much stacked against us. And one night, September 5th of 2024, I started drinking during the day, got into Dave's whiskey, and when he got home, we finished it. Made his daughter go get whiskey for him and wine for me, and that was a mistake. Because at some point during the night, I got mad at Dave and smashed the remote control. Didn't remember doing it, didn't remember smashing my wine glass. Apparently I called a couple friends and I was drunk, so didn't remember that either. Threw my inhaler under the couch, walked up the street to that same place I had walked before, and Dave came and found me and got me into bed. And the next day, and this is funny, I can really laugh about this now. I'm trying to work the remote. I'm sobered up by then, and I'm like, what's wrong with the remote? And he looks at me and says, don't you remember? And I said, no. And he goes, you smashed it last night. Oops. Yeah. So after he left, and I don't think his daughter was home, I bawled. Guys, I bawled, and I turned to God, and I finally said, help me, because I cannot keep doing this. I was 54 years old. And I'm like, I can't do this, God. And the minute he did that, I did that. My friend Betty, who was one of the ones I drunk called the night before, called me to check and make sure I was okay. She'd been asleep. That's why she didn't answer the phone. And we talked, and she said, honey, I want you to promise me you will go to a meeting this weekend. And I promised, called my sponsor, told her what happened, was completely honest with her. And I hit 3 meetings that weekend with her. I also had been praying, and about a church, because I didn't belong to any church. I'm a non-practicing Catholic, and that's when God led me to Two Rivers Church. In my hometown, they also have their main campuses in Binghamton. They actually run the Hope Home. And I have been sober since September 7th, 2024. It has not been easy. I'm not gonna lie. Within 2 weeks of getting sober, I decided I went to this place called Access to Independence, and they helped me get to Catholic Charities. I had decided it wasn't good for me to be at Dave's, not because he was mean or anything, but because of the booze, because he was still drinking. He even offered to hide it, and I said, yeah, but if I really want to drink, I'm going to go looking for it. And I know me well enough to know I'll do it. So I got help with Catholic Charities, went to DSS. I mean, everybody was really good to me and helped me fill out paperwork. That day, I was in a motel room. I was out of that house. I couldn't have my cats, which was hard. But Dave, I would go over to Dave's and hang out and visit with the cats. But I was in that motel for 5 months. It wasn't an easy decision, but it was the right decision, because I was able to focus on God, on myself, on staying sober. I think I was 5 or 6 months sober when I finally got an apartment. It was an efficiency right near the hotel, so I didn't have to move very far. So that was awesome. It had a beautiful view. The cats and I, they didn't like it at first, and I know now that there's definitely a very negative energy in that building, like something dark. But it was my own apartment. And then I got disability finally. I didn't have to wait as long as a lot of people. And then, so I lived in that apartment, stayed sober, but I've dealt with a lot of health issues, a lot of chronic fatigue, pain to the point where getting out of bed is very hard, but God gets me out of bed every day. And so do my cats, because if I don't get out of bed, they don't get fed. And they will let me know very vocally if that does not happen. I'm sorry, my train of thought, I apologize. Like I said, I have 4 neurological disorders, and it really messes my brain up. I've dealt with depression, like major depressive episodes, but I have not drank. In November, I had this really weird, overwhelming urge that something made me want to go to Maine to be with my mom for Thanksgiving, and my other family too. I'm not saying just mom, but it was important for me to see her. I had to go, and I hadn't gone in 7 or 8 years since I had been to Maine. And so I did. God made it happen, and I'm glad I did, because unfortunately we lost my mother suddenly, unexpectedly, on Thanksgiving Day. She passed from a brain bleed, a stroke that she had that led to a brain bleed in her brainstem. It was heart-wrenching. But at the same time, I am glad my mother got to see me sober and other family members sober. So I'm really happy that happened, that I was there. I was thanking God in the midst of all this sadness that I got to be there, that He put me there with her. That was so important. I would have regretted it if I hadn't been there. Came back. I think I stayed in Maine 10 days or something. Came back to New York, and then there was a fight with a family member who accused me of doing something I didn't do. And that was right before Christmas, the weekend before, and I went down a very dark hole. I wanted to drink, I'm not gonna lie. I was ready to pick up again. If I hadn't been in my pajamas and lazy and not wanting to get out of bed, I probably would have picked up. And I posted, I'm a Mount Laurel alumni. I posted something on the app sharing what had happened, and somebody made some sort of comment that set me off, and I said I'm not going to post anything anymore. And the alumni coordinator, thank God, called me because she realized something was going on, and I just burst out crying. I just sobbed. The grief from my mother, this fight with this family member just hit me all at once, and I said I want to drink. And she talked with me for a long time, and by the end I was fine. Went to church the next day, shared what happened. Losing my mom was very hard because even though we didn't always talk on the phone, we texted constantly. My mother in her retirement was still a very busy woman. She was a horseback rider, loved horses. She dog walked, cat sat for people. She stayed busy. I was very proud of my mom because she had become, after I graduated high school, she went to college and she ended up becoming a physician's assistant. I was very proud of her. And then I was thinking about a conversation I had with my mom about a one-bedroom apartment. And I decided to call the place where I'm in now and just let them know I had income now. And the lady said, "Oh, I'm glad you called because you're in the top 10. You're like number 8. I'm like, whoa, because I've been on this list a while. And within a week, the other people had turned it down. Apparently, within a week, I got offered my one-bedroom apartment. That is so much more peaceful, and I love it. But then, when I moved in end of February, I used to bring my aunt over here, but yeah, my aunt, she's a trigger, because she's too much like my ex, so I have to be careful. But then she fell, I think in April, and broke both sides of her pelvic bone, and we couldn't take her out, so I was over almost every day. That is when I went into a major depressive episode. I don't know if you want to call it episode, but all of a sudden all I wanted to do was sleep. I was very apathetic. Like I didn't even want to do my diamond art or color things that I really enjoyed doing. No desire. And I love reading scripture on my Bible app, the YouVersion Bible app. Didn't want to do that either. It's weird. Didn't want to do anything. And that's just so not me. And it's horrible. Guys, it was horrible. Like, I didn't crave, but I just didn't care. And I didn't make that association until I went to see my doctor, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? When I told him, and he put me on a new med that unfortunately the first night I took it, and I took it at night, but I was sick, like nauseated the whole next day, and it's Abilify. But we've worked it out, so I've cut the Abilify in half. I'm on other meds for all the neurological stuff I'm going through, including my balance, because I have polyneuropathy and I start falling over. So that's pretty interesting. And then I have a hard time focusing right now, and it's not, and I pray about it, but I realize that God is using the things I'm going through for me to share my story, for me to say, hey, look, my life since stopping drinking and being a born-again Christian, I guess that's what you call it, has not been easy or perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. I'm not numb anymore. I'm not just a zombie anymore, because I didn't really normally get mean when I drank. I just sat there like a big lump and occasionally did funny stuff that I don't remember. And he also put me on Lyrica. That's for anxiety. So one of the things And I thought it was because of my drinking that I used to do was dig at my skin. Like, I don't, you guys probably can't see the scars, but, well, you might be able to see them a little, but I would dig and not even be aware that I'm doing it. Well, I started doing it again like a month ago, and my doctor's like, that's anxiety. And I'm like, oh, I just thought it was because of my drinking that I used to do. But this time it's at my back. And the Lyrica hasn't fully kicked in. I guess it takes a while, but I'm, I dig. So I still have things I'm going through, you guys. The upside is I am involved in some groups that help with mental health. I'm taking a Bible study on Wednesdays now. I'm starting to get a little energy to do diamond art, to be involved, and just to be present in people's lives, and I wasn't present. The aunt that I talked about, I have put up boundaries. I'm not going over every day. I'm still going over more days than I want to, but I'm going usually about 3 days a week this week. But the minute she starts getting negative, I just say, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm going to pray for you. I'm gone. Because if I stay around it too long, I will light into her. And I don't want to be that way. Jesus tells us to love others, especially the unlovable. I love my aunt. I don't like the way she acts. I don't like the way she acted before she got dementia. Now, anyone who's familiar with dementia or Alzheimer's can probably know that, it's not pleasant. Today she was in a good mood. I went and saw her, took her soda and some other stuff. She's in a good mood today. But Friday, when I go get her to take her for her hair appointment, who knows? Sunday, I went to take her out for her birthday. She was in horrible mood. So, needless to say, that visit didn't last long. But I haven't been attending as many AA meetings, not because I don't want to, just because health-wise, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm ready for bed again. I go lay down. I'm trying not to do that. And I know it's part of the chronic fatigue, but it is hard. I'm not doing it today. I did yesterday, I admit. I was going to poop it out yesterday. But I did do diamond art with ladies in my building. And I was in a lot of pain yesterday, and I have days like that. But guys, I'm going to tell you, my life now is so different. I'm not bouncing from man to man. I do recommend AA or NA, especially when you're first getting clean or getting sober, because that helped me so much. But the other thing that I recommend is finding your higher power, because until I turned my will over to God, I kept relapsing. And since then, I have not, and my faith is very, very strong. I'm almost 2 years sober. I'm almost 2 years without being in a relationship, because I have God, and I don't know if you guys can see my tattoo. It says God's girl. I'm God's girl, and when He's ready for me to meet someone, it'll happen, if it's His will. If it's not His will, guess what? That's okay, because I have a very full life. So I just, want to encourage you guys, don't give up. Don't give up. Even if you relapse, pick yourself back up, turn to God, or whoever your higher power is. For me, it's God. And don't be ashamed. And I know it's hard, because believe me, every time I relapse, I felt a lot of shame. The first time I relapsed, I went to our home group meeting and sobbed. Held on to my sponsor and sobbed. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, they're going to kick me out of AA. They didn't. In fact, everybody was surprisingly supportive, because I did show up at the meeting and I did share. And also, the other thing I want to encourage people and say is, sometimes you have to change your people, places, and things, no matter how hard it is. I didn't want to move out of the house that was supposed to be ours. You know, you guys, I should have been married to him or engaged and either moving to Texas or in Texas by now. But guess what? I probably still would have been drinking. And that would have killed me. My own doctor, neurologist, they've all said the same thing. If I pick up again because of the neurological stuff, I'm going to have mush brain, which means alcohol-related dementia. It's going to be it for me. Well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to leave my fur babies, my only children, without me. I don't want my family to go through that. I definitely don't want to go through that. I mean, I struggle with memory enough. I don't want to go through that. But, you know, you guys, each week, you know, I'll be updating you guys on how I'm doing, any struggles, any good stuff. So I hope that you'll keep coming back, that you won't be afraid. If you have questions, please reach out to me. You know, don't be afraid to ask a question in the comments. All I ask everybody is please keep it respectful. I'm not here to argue about anything. I'm definitely not going to discuss politics with anybody. No, that's not why I created this channel. I really did create it to help others, to lead others to God, and maybe for someone to be saved, someone to overcome their addiction or their alcoholism or whatever, their depression, you know, PTSD, anything like that. I have those things. I have major depressive disorder, PTSD, alcohol use disorder, anxiety, and then there's the neurological stuff. And I'm still around, still getting up out of bed every day, still walking, still talking. And I'm grateful for every moment of it. And as much as I sometimes don't like the pain that I feel sometimes, I'm grateful for that too. Because I'm feeling things now, you guys. I'm noticing sunsets. Well, I'm not always up for the sunrise, but we have beautiful trees outside my window. Birds, I love birds, so I love watching them, and so do my cats. So please keep coming back. I will have more next week. I'm grateful. Thank you for listening to me. Hopefully by next week I'll be a little more eloquent. I am not an eloquent person. But thank you for listening to my story. And I hope to see you back. Oh, and I'm not a branded channel. Not doing this for money or anything else. I'm just doing it to help others. So I love y'all. God loves you guys. I hope you'll come back. And I will see you next week. And I will, in the process, be checking the comments in case anyone has any questions. Thank you, you guys. Have a good night. And God bless. Bye-bye.